Hi, everybody. This is Josh Mansky with the Corn Belt Newsletter Podcast. I have the honor and privilege today of having Jeff Bonar and Sally Hart from CapCO2 Solutions on the podcast today. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Jeff, why don't we get into who you are and a little bit more about what CapCO2 Solutions is and why it's going to be important for agriculture going forward.
Great. So who I am is the CEO of CapCO2 Solutions and the founder. And I was challenged by my adult children a few years back to do something about climate because us boomers messed it up and I should be doing something to work on it. And so I started looking at the opportunity to create low carbon fuels. And to create low carbon fuels, you need high quality CO2. That's sort of a key ingredient. And I was looking around, manure treatment facilities put out low quality CO2. Dumps, you can get low quality CO2. But ethanol plants are the mother lode of high quality, high purity, large quantities of CO2 all in one place at a place that already has great logistics and people who know how to handle large quantities of materials. So that I turned my eye to the Midwest and the ethanol industry. And okay, well, let's see if we can capture that CO2 and make the product we make is e-methanol. So which means low carbon methanol. And again, everything I've learned since that opening gambit has been ethanol plants are the perfect place to be making it.
Well, we're happy to have you in the Midwest when you come here, Jeff. So
it's my pleasure. As you know, Josh, I come from that well-known farming community of New York City. So
you're right.
It's I told Sally at one point that the only time I'd been in the Midwest before I started this business was when I went to Chicago. And she said, no, you were not in the Midwest when you went to Chicago.
Oh, too funny.
So, but I have been now. So, and I'll use that as
absolutely. Sally, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself too?
Yeah, my role here at CapCO2 Solutions is VP of Communications and Outreach. I've been with the company almost 3 years now. I'm based in Southeast Iowa, and my role is connecting with ethanol facilities, renewable power entities, and the people who are growing the corn, right? So Iowa is a small town, as one of my colleagues likes to say. And I've really enjoyed getting to share the story of what we're working on. And again, thank you for having us today.
I appreciate you guys making the time. Jeff, why don't we get into it?
Let me just add one thing about
Sure.
what Sally has contributed. As people are very familiar, there's when you're building a big infrastructure project, the worst thing you can possibly do is just kind of bull your way in and try and impose things on people. And we have good examples of that in the Midwest. And so Sally has just been invaluable at making sure we did it the right way and did it working with local communities, not trying to impose something on them.
No, I totally understand that part too. Well, Jeff, why don't you pull your slide deck up
Okay.
and let's kind of discuss what this technology is and why it's important for the Midwest in general, Iowa specifically, and yeah.
Absolutely. So we're making methanol. So first of all, the difference between methanol and e-methanol is only how much carbon you emit, how much CO2 you emit when you make it. They're chemically identical. So methanol is used everywhere. It's a major chemical building block, roofing, gutters, insulation, safety glass, rigid plastics, etc. Shoes, fuels. tires. So lots and lots of methanol used in the world. Most of it is fossil fuel intensive. So there's a lot of CO2 emitted when you make it. We're focused on making it green, no fossil fuel, no new CO2 introduced to the atmosphere, which is, by the way, why ethanol plants are perfect, because the CO2 they're emitting was captured by corn plants last season. And so you put it back in the air, it's just the carbon cycle. You're not adding any new CO2. And so if you can power an engine or do something useful with it on the way, that's a win. So that's the kind of basic theory. And ethanol plants, like I said, they're the best place to get that kind of CO2.
Okay.
So that's ethanol. And let's talk about our plant. So why are ethanol plants interested in doing this? They want to reduce their CO2 footprint. What they get when they do that is they get tax credits. They get a higher price for their low carbon ethanol. They can sell it into places like California and Canada, and they can use it or use the CO2 to create next generation fuels. So that's marine fuel and sustainable aviation fuel being the two most obvious. And those, at least as far as we can tell right now, those are the big opportunities. And that's where we're focused on the business, initially marine fuel and eventually sustainable aviation fuel.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, Jeff. The markets that are available to us right now with creating methanol, e-methanol, it does seem like the marine cargo industry, that is what they're really after at the moment.
That is very true. I'm pulling up the right slide here. So we say ethanol plants are the lowest friction way to make e-methanol at scale. Essentially, one commercial average size ethanol plant will produce enough methanol to drive one big, huge cargo ship for a whole year. And that's significant. That's a big deal. And there are already 400 dual fuel ships on the water and more every year. So there is a huge demand for this, and it's an immediate market. As soon as we start producing, there's a market for that e-methanol. So SAF is a little more complicated and a longer term technical problem. Methanol can be built right now and profitably sold right now. Let's
You actually, Jeff, do you want to get into that a little bit of how you're doing this? Meaning you're taking the CO2. We don't have to get too far in the weeds, but explain to folks how the technology works. So the CO2 comes off of the ethanol plant. I'll let you explain it.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a picture. This is the 3D diagram of the construction plans. This pad is about the size of a basketball court. And this is our first ethanol plant up top. And this pad is going to be placed just in front of that grassy area that I'm pointing to right now. So that gives you a sense of the size of things. Basically, the methanol reaction is really simple. You take CO2, you have to add hydrogen. You make the hydrogen with renewable power, and you put the two together under pressure with the right catalyst, and you get methanol coming out the other side. So it's a straightforward reaction, relatively simple. And one of the key advantages of our technology is you can turn it on and off. So one of our, in the near term, we plan to be operating the equipment when the grid doesn't want the power. So at nighttime, typically, we're going to be running the equipment and we store the CO2 during the day. So there's the one of the key advantages of we can take advantage of when the electricity is cheap and when it's not in demand in other parts of the economy.
And one definition that we should make clear here is that the methanol production is alongside the existing ethanol production. So you have the two fuels then produced at the same site.
Yeah, what a value add that is. You're taking that extra product from the ethanol plants and making another biofuel and all the uses that come with that.
Absolutely. We like to liken ourselves to DDGs.
Right.
So
Dry distillers grains for everybody that don't know, that do not know what that means.
And you know, I don't think they ever really threw it out, but at one time, if you couldn't get local farmers to come get it, you just got rid of it some way. And now it's a major product at most ethanol plants, a major part of their revenue stream. And so we want e-methanol to be another major product from the last major piece of waste at an ethanol plant is the CO2, and we're going to turn that into a product and a revenue stream.
Yeah, it
And
seems
we
like
recognize the expertise that the ethanol producers and facilities have on hand. They're doing amazing things with the products they have already, but they also have the infrastructure, whether that's train sidings or trucking routes to get their fuel to the customer.
no, it seems that just another value add from the ethanol plant. That just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And I wanted to put this picture up. This is our motto here: from field to fleet to flight. So we start with farmers and corn. The ethanol plant right now produces ethanol and a lot of waste CO2. We're going to take that CO2, convert it to e-methanol. We're also, as part of doing that, we lower the CI score for the ethanol. So we now qualify that ethanol, among other things, we qualify it to be part of sustainable aviation fuel production. And I'm told by the chemists who know this that a mixture of methanol and ethanol is the best feedstock for SAF, that's what's going to produce the best SAF at the lowest price. So that's over time, that's our plan, is to get into that. But for right now, we're focused on shipping. And by the way, sprint car racing, as for the earliest quantities, we produce just enough methanol to happily take care of some local sprint tracks. And let me show my picture.
Nice.
So again, your audience will appreciate that outside of the Midwest, I typically have to explain to people what sprint car racing is.
It's methanol made from corn. It should be put to use.
Yeah.
Amen, Sally. I love it.
So yeah. So I think there's the story about the product. What's the product we're building?
Right. And what the value add is to that, as well as, I think for all of us involved in agriculture, we're looking for the next market or a new market for what we're producing. And if you go back up to your other slide there, Jeff.
The field to fleet?
Yeah, I think that does a nice job of kind of explaining what these market opportunities are. If you want to, we want to elaborate a little bit more on that with, sustainable aviation fuel. That's, I don't want to say the holy grail that we're looking at coming up, but that certainly is on our minds. But in the interim, the opportunity to help with the shipping industry, what kind of market is that currently?
Well, the one full-size ethanol plant will power one ship for a year. So, and there's already 400 ships on the water.
Wow.
No one's expecting to power those big ships full-time on methanol in the next decade or so. But you got to scale up to that. So that's where, the opportunity is huge. And, that, again, there will be thousands of ships looking for methanol 10 years from now.
And that's just the shipping industry. We're not even talking about
Correct.
SAF yet. That would be on top of that.
That's right. And I'm told that the current ethanol industry could more or less double its production just by turning up the gas without, I'm speaking metaphorically, just more or less the same infrastructure could double production if they really had a market for it. And so we really want to fuel that. We think there's a great opportunity. I'll tell the story. As I said, I'm based in New York, and there are some biotechnology companies who work in labs in New York, and they have this great new kind of algae or something that they're doing in a fish tank. And then you go to an ethanol plant and they're making 100 million gallons of something every year. And it's like, oh, we ought to be, that's just a huge opportunity to take that to the next level. And not have to scale it out from fish tanks. So
Right. That puts things in perspective a little bit there.
it does. It does.
So Jeff, timeline on all of this and what that's looking like as far as scaling up CapCO2 and then how much production you're expecting here in the next handful of years, because we know how these projects, it is not a snap of a finger.
Yeah, we have all the design work done. And we are negotiating the details of the funding. But we do have someone identified who wants to fund it. We've signed a term sheet with them. And that will fund the first pilot in Laverne, Minnesota. And then we have a list of 3 ethanol plants who've signed documents saying they're interested in being next. And we have a list of 20 or 30 who say, when I can kick the tires, I'm interested. They want to see it operating. So that's the plan, is scale that up as fast as we can.
Yeah, it seems like a virtuous cycle with the extra product that's being off of the ethanol plant already. You're able to take that, put a value add on it. As you were just mentioning about the ethanol industry doubling their capacity, and still not probably being able to meet the demand here. Is that what you were saying?
Correct.
That's kind of a humbling statement, Jeff.
I got it. I understand. I don't know how that really plays out in practice. Yet even with E15, there's only a limited amount of new ethanol that's going to be needed. So, but we have plenty of time to grow it together. We're now talking about a 10 to 20 year plan. And if we can get anywhere near that, I think that's a benefit for everyone involved.
Yeah, for farmers, rural communities, Midwest in general, Iowa specifically, of course. It certainly seems like the sky's the limit. Have a fun pun with sustainable aviation fuel.
I talked to people in Europe. So, and here's an interesting side story with the issues, the global issues around the Straits of Hormuz and the Iran war and stuff like that. People in Europe and Asia are very concerned that they can't get fossil fuel from reliable sources, and they can't rely on NATO like they thought they once could. And they need fuels, and they need fuels that they can control and produce locally. And you talk to people in Europe or Asia for that matter, certainly Japan and Korea, about the scale of the ethanol industry in the Midwest, and it blows their mind. It's just so much bigger than the kind of ethanol plants they can conceive of and support in current timeframes. And so anyway, it's a big opportunity.
Are you seeing current events have maybe shifted their calculus a little bit?
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. I was speaking with an executive from Germany yesterday. I won't say exactly what company, but people
Sure.
in your listenership would have heard of this company. And I brought that up, like, just do a reality check. Is that really real? And he was like, oh, yeah, that's definitely real. We can't count on NATO anymore.
Wow.
So, yeah. So,
Exciting times here, Jeff, from what I can see.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, opportunities abounding. And like I said, the value add of the product that's being created, and then the revenue and the benefits to the environment, like I said, farmers' pockets, rural communities, the Midwest, of which I'm biased.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
Well,
am
know,
too.
I
and
had
Sally is as well.
interest in a business that didn't have local support. It just is not. I don't have a taste for that. So,
Totally.
And we look forward to being able to have people come up and kick the tires in Laverne. Laverne has been a community that we've worked closely with, and we'd be happy to have people come visit when we're ready to have them kick the tires.
And for everybody, Jeff, and elaborate on this if you would like to. The Laverne in Minnesota is where the first CapCO2 plant will be.
correct, and it's just over the Iowa line, right near Sioux Falls. And here's the story I tell about Laverne. The mayor ran on to get reelected on the platform of making sure their high school graduates come back and live there. So again, I think that sounds exactly right what a small rural community needs to be focused on.
Absolutely. And I think CapCO2 solutions will help with that issue as well.
Absolutely.
Sally, Jeff, is there anything else that we need to hit on today? Or that you'd like?
If people have questions, we welcome, inquiries. If people want to reach out, we're happy to answer any questions.
Do you have an email or preferred contact method, Jeff or Sally?
Info@capco2.solutions works great if you want to send an email, or we have a website with a contact us form, whichever is easier for folks.
And Jeff, the website is?
CapCO2.solutions. That's the website.
And I'll make sure to tag that when I post this as well. So, and I will have a disclosure for everybody on this podcast that I am an investor in this very company too. So just to make sure that's out in front of all of this. So, Jeff, Sally, I really appreciate you guys taking the time today to come on the podcast and share more about this really exciting technology and the opportunities that it gives for all of us here in the state of Iowa and the Midwest and the country at large.
Yeah.
Thank you
My
for having us.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
This is Josh Mansky with the Corn Belt Newsletter Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.